Hey everyone, alright, so on today's video, we're going to be continuing our beginner Tiki series with our 102 episode, and today we're going to be talking about the fact that Tiki is more than just rum. Today we're going to be covering the beginner level series of the different spirits and modifiers, liqueurs, those kind of things that you need to complete your beginner Tiki bar. I'm Andy, this is Easy Tiki Drinks, so let's do this. So last week, I put up my Beginner Tiki 101 episode on rums, and I went over the 5 rums that I think you need to start your Tiki bar. If you didn't happen to watch that episode, no big deal. I'll leave a card up here in the description and the link down below. I'm also creating a brand new playlist on the channel of just Beginner Tiki episodes anyway, so this episode plus that episode will be in there, plus the future ones to follow. So today I want to talk about the fact that Tiki is more than just rum. And yes, while building a base of 5 rums is a great place to start, we are going to need to expand on that to include other things, such as these guys here, in order to make 85 to 90% of the classic Tiki cocktails. So with that in mind, a lot of these ingredients show up in a classic Tiki cocktail that is on the same par as the Mai Tai. So today I'm gonna quickly make a easy Tiki zombie, and then I'm gonna sip on it and we're gonna talk about the other stuff you need for these cocktails. So let's do this. For the easy Tiki zombie, you're gonna need 1 dash of aromatic bitters, 1 dash of absinthe, 3/4 of an ounce or 22.5 milliliters of lime juice, 1 ounce or 30 milliliters of grapefruit juice, 1/4 of an ounce or 7.5 milliliters of Falernum, 1/2 ounce or 15 milliliters of cinnamon syrup, 1 ounce or 30 milliliters of an Overproof Heavy Bodied rum, 1.5 ounces or 45 milliliters of an aged Jamaican rum. Add ice. Whip shake for about 5 to 8 seconds. Open pour into a Collins glass. Garnish with a mint sprig, grapefruit wheel, cinnamon stick, and a straw. And there you have it, my easy Tiki zombie. Let's give it a try. That is bright. The cinnamon comes through a lot. That grapefruit is doing a nice job of adding a back bitter note, and those rums are really playing front and center in this cocktail. Now, is it the classic 1934 zombie? No, but it is an easy Tiki zombie. I kind of slimmed down the ingredients a little bit, made the measurements a little bit easier to handle, and used ingredients that are within my beginner Tiki series videos. So, speaking of which, let's talk about the first thing that you're gonna need outside of rum to complete your Tiki bar. So let's see what other spirits you're gonna need outside of rum to complete your beginner Tiki bar. The first one is gin. Gin actually happens to be the second most base spirit used in classic Tiki cocktails in things like the Singapore Sling and the Saturn. Now when it comes to picking a gin, that category is very, very wide and vast. And the thing about gins is that most gins are proprietary, meaning that the blend of herbs that they use in each distillery is different from other distilleries. But what we're looking for here is typically a traditional London style dry gin. That's what we're looking for. There are other styles of gin, but my recommendation is for your first gin, just go out and grab a London dry style gin. Something like a Hayman's or a Ford's would be perfect. Moving on to our next spirit. For our second spirit that we're gonna need, cognac. Now, this may seem a little bit obscure, but in fact, cognac appears in just about 30 classic Tiki recipes. So it is actually something good to have in your beginner Tiki arsenal. You're gonna use it in cocktails like the Fog Cutter and the Scorpion Bowl. So, there you go. On to the next one. For our third spirit, we're gonna need absinthe. Now, before I continue, yes, this is a giant bottle of absinthe. No, you do not need this much. I happen to go through it a lot, so I have a big bottle, but however, you can buy a little nip of it because honestly, it's gonna go a long way. Because we're only using in dashes in classic Tiki cocktails, like the Zombie and the Jet Pilot. So you don't really need a ton of it. For absinthe, again, we're talking kind of like a wide variety here, but honestly, you're just looking for something that's got a nice licorice or anise flavored forward flavor to it. You could also sub out this absinthe for something like Pernod or Herb Saint. Those are equally great replacements as well. But you definitely need some type of absinthe or anise flavored liqueur on your bar. Moving on to our next one. Now that we've kind of covered the base spirits for what we need for our beginner tiki bar, we're going to move into our liqueurs. And the first one up is Falernum. Now, you can buy Falernum. This is John D. Taylor's Velvet Falernum. There are other brands, like Bitter Truth makes a golden Falernum. I know Luau Lads makes a Falernum. There's a third one that's called like a double spiced Falernum or something like that. I don't remember exactly who makes that one. But anyway, you can also make your own Falernum at home using the Falernum number 9 recipe. Honestly, all of them are great options, and it's completely up to you of what you can get and what you choose to make. But anyway, we are going to use Falernum in classic tiki cocktails like the Zombie, the Jet Pilot, and the Cobra's Fang. So, there you have it, Falernum. Moving on to our next liqueur. Now, this may seem a little bit more obscure too, and you could probably leave it out, but you'd be leaving out a bunch of classic tiki cocktails that a lot of people seem to love, and that is allspice dram. Now again, this is St. Elizabeth, which is kind of the standard on the market right now, but there are other companies like Bitter Truth that make an allspice dram, and Hamilton that make a pimento or allspice dram as well. So this is referred to as either allspice dram or pimento dram. It's the same thing, the names are interchangeable, and it comes from the pimento berry from Jamaica. This is going to give you those notes of clove and cinnamon and allspice, and that's what this is. So this is used in classic tiki cocktails like Trader Vic's Navy Grog, 3 Dots and a Dash, and there's a bunch more. But anyway, I definitely highly recommend that you have allspice dram on your bar. Moving on to our next liqueur. This one should obviously seem like a no-brainer, and that's an orange liqueur or a dry curacao. Now again, Pierre Ferrand's is kind of like the go-to as far as dry curacao is concerned, but Clement also makes a Creole shrub, which is in the same line of orange liqueur, and that's what we're looking for here. Typically, I'm going to recommend something that is not a neutral spirit base, so not a triple sec. So triple sec or Cointreau are a neutral base spirit that they use to then add and distill and all that kind of fun stuff. Whereas a Curacao or a Grand Marnier are actually done with a cognac base. So it's going to add more flavor and more barrel notes, which is going to help evolve and just basically complicate and make that flavor profile of that cocktail sing a little bit more. I mean, the classic that we see this in is the Mai Tai, of course. So there you have it. Last but not least, I've got one more, so bear with me. If we have absinthe on our bar, we clearly need aromatic bitters. And I mean, obviously, Angostura is the go-to. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't other aromatic bitters. Bitter Truth makes one, and there are 1,000 different bitter companies nowadays. Bitter Cube, just off the top of my head. But anyway, Angostura is the original, it is the classic, so if you do want to go with that, absolutely. My recommendation, by the way, is don't buy the small bottles, buy the big bottle. Yes, it's more money up front, but it is way, way more cost effective than buying those little bottles. Granted, you're not going to go through it a lot, but here's the deal. This stuff will pretty much last forever. It's a decent proof. I think it's like 44% ABV. Yep, 44.7% ABV, which means this stuff is pretty much shelf stable forever. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, Angostura bitters is definitely a bitters that you want to have on your bar. I mean, even without classic tiki cocktails, it's kind of like the salt and pepper of cocktails. So you should definitely have that. I think that's about it. All 7? Yeah, I covered all 7. And there you go. So there are the other 7 ingredients or base spirits, modifiers, liqueurs. Those are the things that outside of the rums, you're going to need to purchase or make in some cases, like allspice dram and Falernum, to fill out and round out your beginner tiki bar. Are there more to this? Absolutely. Are there other base spirits? 100%. But again, I wanted to slim this list down to a beginner level series. So these are the ones that I think you should go out and purchase next after purchasing your rums. And honestly, without these, a lot of the cocktails that you're going to make are going to fall a little flat. Imagine doing a Mai Tai without orange curacao. What are you going to use? Orange juice? Just not going to be the same. Imagine doing a Zombie or a Jet Pilot without Falernum. Like, it's just not going to have the same notes. And so these, I think, are vital to anybody looking to begin their tiki bar. Well, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click that little notification bell, follow me over on Instagram and TikTok at Easy Tiki Drinks. I've got more in this beginner series coming up. Next week, we're going to be doing a beginner 103 episode on citrus and the 5 citrus that you need for your tiki bar, following that up with a 104 on syrups. So trust me, you're going to want to see those. Now again, if you've already built out the majority of your tiki bar and this seems a little novice to you, that completely makes sense because again, this is the beginner level. For those of you that want to see what comes next down the pipeline, like what happens after I've got my first 5 rums, what happens for my next base spirits after I've got these, definitely make sure to stay tuned for my intermediate 200 series and my advanced 300 series that will be coming out within the next couple months. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Andy. This is Easy Tiki Drinks. And until next time, you know the deal. Take it easy.